Good afternoon, learners. I am Dr. Sunil Gupta, Faculty, School of Management Studies. So I welcome you all in this teleconferencing session along with my esteemed colleague with Professor Naval Kishore. So well, learners, today the topic for teleconferencing session is export documents. So well, learners, you might be knowing that there are certain formalities which the exporter has to comply with while exporting the goods from one country to another countries. So what are the main important documents which need to be maintained by the export while exporting the goods, or what are the incentives which are provided by the government? You see that in order to claim the certain incentives which are provided by the governments, we need to uh, comply with all the formalities which are issued by the government. So unless we fulfill all the formalities, we cannot claim for the incentives also. So these are the various issues which we are going to discuss today. So in order to discuss these issues in detail, I welcome my esteemed colleague Professor Naval Kishore, and I hand over the session to Professor Naval Kishore.
Good afternoon, learners. As Dr. Gupta has rightly pointed out the importance of the documents for the export-import business. See, first, whenever you are exporting or importing, it must be clear to you that in order to make the goods available from your country to other countries, there are a number of formalities which are required to be fulfilled by the exporter or importer, and most of the time these formalities are being fulfilled through the help of documents. Sometimes people say that documentation procedures are very complicated one, but you should not bother much for the complications. What is more important for you to understand the importance and to fulfill the right documents at the right place. Because what happens whenever you are exporting or importing, the exporter or importers, what they want. See, when importers are there, they want that they must receive the goods and they should also make payment for that particular goods. What the exporters want? Exporters should ship the goods, and exporter should, after shipment of the goods, they also want to receive the payment. But in case of international trade or business, both the parties are located at different places, at different countries. As you all are aware that even in the domestic country, whenever two parties are dealing with each other, they take extra precaution during the dealings despite the fact that they might be knowing each other locally. In this case, because both are located in different places, therefore they don't know each other. So in that case, the written evidence, the written documents, duly fulfilled documents become very important for them. So the first question here comes up, why documents? What are the rationale of the documents? Let us see the rationale of the documents. There are basically three rationales for the documents. One is, you can just see on the screen also, one is your, this what is called commercial perspective, the second is your legal perspective, and the third is your incentive perspective. So let us deal with the commercial perspective. See, every places in every country there is certain commercial requirement, there is certain commercial practice which is being followed there, which is being followed in that particular country. So when you see those commercial perspectives particularly, in that case what happens? When you see that commercial perspective, then in the commercial perspective, it is the duty of the exporter to ship the goods as per requirement of the importer, and it is the duty of the importer to make the payment to the exporter as per contract. So in order to fulfill both shipment procedures and both payment procedure, these documentation formalities are required and are maintained. For example, under Indian foreign trade policy, you need certain documents. Under certificate of origin, you might be needing in need of certain documents. For generalized system of practices, you might need certain documents. So for the movement purpose, for the movement of goods from one place to other, you need certain documents. So this falls under the commercial perspective. Next is your legal perspective. In fact, what happens, every country, they have certain requirement. For example, sometimes there may be a scarcity of the goods. Sometimes the nature of the goods are such that that might be prohibited to be for example, elephant, the goods made up of elephant teeth, some of the skin, some of the this sort of things, monuments, that might not be allowed to be exported by a particular country, or there is a crisis of some of the goods. So in that case, legally you are not allowed to export. Or some of the goods, what may happen, the license or permit may be required to be obtained from the prescribed authority. Now in that case, whenever the license is required, you need to obtain license from particular authority. Moreover, despite all these requirements, you may be, the government of India, for example, may be also just obtaining the data, maintaining the data of all the export-import activities. So for that purpose also, the documentation formalities may be needed, because in the documents it is the evidence that you have exported certain commodity or certain goods, or you have imported certain commodities or goods. Third is your incentive perspective. All over the world, the government provides some sort of assistance excuse me, all over the world, governments provide some sort of incentive to the assistance to the exporter, because export is always encouraged by the government. So in order to obtain that incentives, what is required for you to take the evidence in the form of the documents and present that before the authority who is going to provide incentive to you. Now, if there is anything,
Yes,
we can ask the question
Professor
also.
Naval Kishore, I was just about to ask a question. See, when we talk about the prohibited goods, so first of all, that the prohibited goods cannot be exported from one country to another country. And in case if there are some products for which we will have to seek the permission from the government, or we will have to take the license from the government. So I think, sir, that this license is for a particular time period, that by the time that time period is over, that particular product, we cannot export that particular product after that license period. So is there any time period, or it is for infinite period, sir?
Yeah, very good question. See, as you might be aware that the goods are classified goods here. So some of the goods are prohibited. That means that you cannot export or import that particular goods. That means it is completely prohibited. For example, I gave the example of goods made up of elephant teeth.
Yeah.
Then some of the goods are like that where the license is required. For example, chemicals, some of the chemicals. So whenever you are exporting or importing the goods, that is the chemical goods, you need to obtain the license from the government of India. Now, government of India issues the license for a particular period, and during that period you need to use that particular license,
Yeah.
and based on that you manufacture or procure the goods and export the goods.
Sir, there is one more thing.
Yeah.
That sometimes what happens that in order to take the license from the government,
Hmm.
the exporter need to make certain payments, I think. So sometimes what the exporter feel is that okay, if I don't take the license from the government, because sometimes when the exporter want to make huge profit, or in fact when he want to take the risk, in that case without taking the license from the government, if he export the goods from one country, so is there any penalties for that in case if we export the goods without taking the license from the government of particular prohibited goods? Because the general goods we can export, but so far as the prohibited goods are concerned, because in the prohibited goods the profit margin is comparatively more. So when somebody is intent to earn more and more profit, and without taking the license from the government, if he is exporting it from some countries, so is there any this penalty provision or
Yes, see, there is a very stringent procedures here. If you are violating any of the export-import phenomenon, then based on the EXIM Act, that is India's Foreign Trade Act, whatever infringement is there, you are punished based on that infringement. Your license may be cancelled, you
okay,
may be fined, even you may be jailed also,
okay,
because here foreign trade India's, and then plus if there is any FEMA violation,
yeah.
so in that case based on the FEMA Act also you will be punished here,
So according to the provision of the act, the person will be penalized.
obviously.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Then let us come to the commercial documents. Under the CIF contract, that is cost insurance and freight contract, the major commercial documents are, you have commercial invoice, then you have bill of lading or airway bill, then you have insurance policy or certificate, then you have bill of exchange. These four are the major commercial documents. Now let us discuss these documents. The first document is your commercial invoice. This document is a very important document because this document is prepared on both the pre-shipment stage and post-shipment stage also, and this is required for obtaining export inspection certificate, for getting excise clearance, for getting customs clearance, and for securing incentives. That means for most of the activity, this is the basic documents, that is commercial invoice, which may be required. Now let us analyze the features of these documents. At the first place, this document is document of contents. Now you all know that when you are exporting and importing the goods, then in that bundle some contents are there. What entails in that particular bundle, that is reflected through the commercial invoice. Commercial invoice reflects that this container has this contents. Second is your identification marks. See what happens, most of the time the goods are in the hand of the third parties. When the goods are in the hand of third parties, let us say for the transportation, let us say in transit of the goods, so unless the goods are properly marked, it becomes very difficult for the third party to handle the goods. For example, some of the goods should not be exposed to the sunlight. Some of the goods should not be exposed to the water content, humidity. For example, if you are exporting cement, then cement should not be exposed to the rains. So that means there you need to put some of the marks on the external bundle of your export products so that it is being handled according to your marks. For example, if you put umbrella, that means maybe it reflects that the goods should be protected from the rains. Like that, you are in the export-import business, what happens? Triangles, circular, different marks are being followed. For example, sometimes you put an arrow. That means you are supposed to lift accordingly. So this sort of marks are being imposed on the bundle, external spheres of that bundle, so that the person who are involved in making the goods move from one place to other place, they take care of that goods accordingly. Next is your description of the goods. See, description is very important for you. I'll give you the simple examples. Your importer asks you to supply, let us say, 30,000 pairs of trousers and shirts. Listen me a bit carefully. Your importer asks you to supply 30,000 pairs of trousers and shirts. Now you are supplying 30,000 trousers and 30,000 shirts. See, literally both may have the same meaning, but you are not permitted, or you should not supply 30,000 trousers and 30,000 shirts. Because if they ask 30,000 pairs of trousers and shirts, that means you need to supply 30,000 pairs of trousers and shirt. By supplying 30,000 pieces of trouser and pieces of shirt also, the meaning may be same, but the bank might not honor your payment. So therefore, in order to avoid that problem, whatever description has been mentioned in the contract, you need to follow that. For example, they may ask you to supply the goods in 50,000 new gunny bags. Now, without mentioning also, you will be sending the goods in the new gunny bags. But don't say it in gunny bags. Don't write that gunny bag. Write new gunny bags. See, these are the simple tips for the description of the goods, but you need to follow these tips very carefully. Then is description of quantity. Now see what happens. Whatever quantity you are sending, based on the contract, you need to supply that much quantity. Sometimes you may be thinking that you are sending surplus, but you are advised don't send the surplus also. Whatever amount quantity is being asked to you to supply, you supply that much quantity, neither less or not more quantity, because in both the cases you may fall in trouble there. So therefore, whatever quantity has been asked you to dispatch, you supply that much of the quantity. Next is your seller's bill. See, commercial invoice also acts as a seller's bill. When it is a seller bills, that means in this bill you need to mention the quantity and the price for that particular product. When you are mentioning the quantity and price of that particular bill, that particular commodity, it works as a seller's bill. Next is your name and address. As usual, the details of the name and address of that exporter should be mentioned here. Next is your terms of sale. Under the terms of sale, what happens, you need to mention like FOB, that is free on board, CIF, cost, insurance and freight. What are the terms of sale? Under what terms you are exporting the goods, that requires to be mentioned there. So based on that, the responsibility is being fixed on the exporters and importers. So these are the features of your commercial invoice. Second document is your bill of lading. It is again one of the most important transport documents, that is bill of lading. The feature of the bill of lading is, first feature is your contract of affreightment. Second feature is your receipt given by shipping company, and third feature is your document of title. Let us say the contract of affreightment. That means this is a contract between the shipping company and the shipper. Now when it is a contract between the shipping company and shipper, then the contract of affreightment reflects the responsibility of a party. That means under what circumstances a party will be held responsible if anything goes wrong in the goods. Because when it is the duty of the person who is handling the goods on the ship, that is the owner of the ship, to handle goods properly. Now, what are the conditions under which if something wrong goes with your goods, and how much responsibility will be fixed to the person? That means first, under what conditions the person will be held responsible for anything wrong being done in the goods. Second, how much the person will be held responsible for that particular purpose. So this is contract of affreightment. Second is receipt given by the shipping company. See, bill of lading acts as a receipt being given by the shipping company. That means now it is also an evidence for non-delivery, defective delivery and short delivery of the cargo. Because when you get the receipt, and based on that receipt you can claim that the delivery was less or the defective delivery was there. Next is document of title. That is the third, and it is the most important feature of the bill of lading. This means that the bona fide holder of the bill of lading will be entitled to take the delivery of the goods on the port. That means the bona fide holder of the original bill of lading, he or she will be entitled to get the delivery of the goods at the port. So this is called document of title. Now there are several kinds of bill of lading, types of bill of lading. Let us see those types. First is your received for shipment bill of lading. That means it is a bill of lading which shows that the goods are received for the shipment purpose. Second is onboard shipped bill of lading. Under onboard shipped bill of lading means the goods are being put on the board of the ship. That is called onboard shipped bill of lading. Third is clean bill of lading. Clean bill of lading is where there is no any clause being incorporated in the bill of lading, and always remember it that you should always receive clean bill of lading. Next is your closed or dirty bill of lading. Under the closed or dirty bill of lading, what happens that you mention there that bundle number 20 hook broken, bundle number 30 the lower portion got torn, bundle number this much some leakage has been identified. Now by putting all these things, you are reducing your responsibility there. So this is called closed or dirty bill of lading because some superimposed clause is involved in such bill of lading. Then your combined bill of lading. Under the combined bill of lading, sometimes what happens, your goods may be traveling through the rail, road, air, ship, etc. Now when the goods are traveling through more than one mode of the transport, in that case combined bill of lading is being used for all the transport. Then is your through bill of lading. What happens, sometimes the goods may be being transshipped en route. For example, you are shipping the goods from Mumbai to Dubai. Now from Dubai port it is transshipped to the London. It is transshipped to the other places, European country. So that is called through bill of lading because here the goods are being transshipped en route. The next is your transshipment bill of lading. In the transshipment bill of lading, this is like the features are like through bill of lading, except in this case what happens, the carrier acts only as an agent here for effecting transshipment of cargo. So in this case, transshipment bill of lading, the first carrier acts only an agent for the transshipment purpose. Then your charter party bill of lading. When you are chartering the whole ship, in that case this bill of lading is being used. Now as you all know that bill of lading is a very important transport document. So there is a provision for transferability of bill of lading. Why? Because what happens that the bona fide or lawful holder of any of the original bill of lading can take the delivery of the goods at the stipulated port of destination. That means that sometimes what happens, based on the bill of lading, you have not received the goods, but you may also sell the goods. For example, some exporter is exporting goods from here to London. Now the exporter will send original bill of lading to you along with the other documents. Now based on the original goods bill of lading, you can sell your goods to the Germany partner, to the Amsterdam partner, to the American partner. Mind it, you should note it here that you have not received the physical goods. Based on the bill of lading itself, you can sell the goods to other party. So for that purpose, this transferability is a very important procedures in the bill of lading. On the transferability, basically there are three partners. One is your consignor, the second is your consignee, and the third is your notifying party, that is K&M London. For example, in this case we have taken the example, let us say the consignor is ABC New Delhi. Consignee, we are writing or order of or Bank of ABC what XYZ whatever. Then notifying party is, let us say, K&M London. Now consignor, the person who is shipping the goods, here by writing or order of and not striking this or order of and putting the name of putting the name of the negotiating party, this bank becomes the first negotiator here, because what you are doing, you are putting here the name of the negotiating bank. Now by writing name of the negotiating bank, the bank becomes the first endorsee, and you are not striking here or order of. Sometimes you may make the consignee named bill of lading also, but usually you are not suggested to make consignee named bill of lading unless you receive the payment in advance, because when you make the consignee named bill of lading, in that case the consignor can get the delivery of that goods without presenting the original bill of lading. So when they get the delivery of the goods, that means you do not have any control over goods when you are making consignee named bill of lading. So therefore you are suggested you should not make consignee named bill of lading unless you have received the whole payment for that particular consignment well in advance. So when you have received in advance, you can make, otherwise you make this or order, that is the negotiating party, the name of the bill. So you understand the how important is transferability of the bill of lading. Next is whenever your goods are being sent through air, then the document used for this purpose is called Airway Bill. Now Airway Bill has the following features. First is your evidence of contract. Second is your receipt for cargo, and third is your not a document of title. The first is evidence of contract, that means it works as an evidence. Second is receipt for the cargo, that means cargo has been duly received by that particular company. Third is by virtue of being Airway Bill. Airway Bill is not a document of title like bill of lading, but you can make Airway Bill such a way that it can work as transferable bill of, that is transferable Airway Bill. So preparation can be made in such a way that the Airway Bill can act as the transferable airway bill. Otherwise, by virtue of airway bill, it is not a document of title. Then next is your post parcel receipt. Whenever you are sending goods through post, in that case the post office provides you one receipt. That receipt is called post parcel receipt. Next document is insurance policy or certificate. Whenever you are sending goods, you are advised to take the adequate insurance policy for your goods. One step before is the insurance certificate, so you acquire that before getting the policy. So you are advised to get insurance policy for your products. Next is your bill of exchange. Bill of exchange, it is an instrument which is unconditional order. The feature of that instrument is it is an unconditional order signed by the maker. The person who issues bill of exchange, he signs and direct a certain person to pay a certain amount to or to the order of a person to the bearer of the instrument. So that means it is an unconditional order where one party instructs the other party to make a payment to that party a specified amount. So this is called bill of exchange. Now sometimes what happens, the bill of exchange is of two types. One is your site bill, second is usance bill. When it is a site bill, what happens, immediately payment is being made there. When it is an usance bill, you get some time period for making the payment. Next is your combined transport document. As you all know that under the combined transport documents, FEDI brochure number 081 and 082 have been prepared, and based on this 81 and 82 combined transport document is being guided. Next is your legal documents for exports from India. Now, the first legal document is importer-exporter code number, which is valid for the firm's lifetime. See, any exporter or importer, when you start export or import business, the first document which you need to obtain is importer-exporter code number. This document is being provided by the regional licensing authority. You need to apply to the regional licensing authority along with the other documents required for this purpose: bank account, PAN number, requisite fees, photographs, interest, involvement, etc. And when the regional licensing authority of Director General of Foreign Trade of India, if they are satisfied, they will issue you a document known as importer-exporter code number. Now next document is your registration cum membership certificate. This document is issued by the Export Promotion Council, Commodity Board, Development Authority, etc. And this document is needed for claiming important export incentives. Now next is your GR form, PP form. Now in lieu of this BP COD form, you have another form that is called SDF form, and next is your soft text form. So the first is GR form. It is prepared in duplicate for the when the goods are exported in physical form other than the post, where the document is the manual. The second is the PP form. When the goods are, again it is prepared in duplicate when the goods are being exported by post. Third is in lieu of VPCOD form, there is another form also, which is SDF form. Again, this form is prepared in duplicate for the export of physical form, where the processing by customs is done electronically. Then is your soft text form. It is prepared in triplicate, and now this is prepared when the goods are being exported in non-physical form like computer software, etc. Now, other documents are whenever you are sending the goods, some sort of export license may be needed. Earlier we talked about the export license. You need to procure that. Then there are documents needed for the quality control under the Quality Control in Inspection Act. Now these documents you need to present intimation for inspection to the Export Inspection Agency. Next, documents are also needed for the Customs Act. Under the Customs Act, the most important documents you have, that is called shipping bills. The shipping bills are primarily for 5 types basically. One is your free shipping bills. It is prepared in white paper where there is no duty or cess required. Another is your dutiable shipping bill. It is prepared on yellow paper. Now when some duty is required, then dutiable shipping bill. There is third, drawback shipping bill. It is prepared on the green paper, and when duty drawback scheme is required, you need to get the duty refunded from the government. In that case, you need to prepare drawback shipping bill. Then is your shipping bill for shipment X bond. In this case, this is prepared on pink paper, and in this case, imported goods are re-exported, which are kept in the custom bonded warehouse. Then there is a fifth shipping bill also, which is known as shipping bill for export of goods under duty entitlement passbook scheme. This is prepared on the blue paper, and when the goods are entitled to, this is duty entitlement passbook scheme, that is that credit is entitled. In that case, you prepare this shipping bill for export of goods under duty entitlement passbook scheme. Next is your application for export. Whenever you are exporting the goods to Bangladesh by road, river, in that case you need to prepare this document. Next is the documents required on the port, that is port trust, copy of shipping bill in Mumbai dock, challan in Kolkata, and export application in Chennai and Cochin. These are the major export documents which are needed to be prepared when are you exporting goods from India.
Well, thanks Professor Naval Kishore for presenting such a nice and very informative session on this topic, export documents. So one thing which generally the students has the confusion, that combined bill of lading and thorough bill of lading. So what I perceive here is that the combined bill of lading will take place only when the transport, the mode, when there is more than one mode of transport is used. And so far as thorough bill of lading is there, only when there is no direct facilities of sending the goods from one place to another. Say for example, if we want to send the goods to London and there is no facility of sending the goods from Mumbai to London, then we will have to send the goods first from Mumbai to Dubai or somewhere, and then from that place to London. This is
One more important part is here, Dr. Gupta, that in the through bill, what happens, the first carrier become responsible as a principal carrier for all stages of journey,
Okay.
whereas all are responsible in the combined book.
Okay.
This is the major difference beside that.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
much.